My wife Saroj and I are deeply honored to receive you all this morning here at the Borron House. We are very pleased and happy to launch the 2018 International Day of Forests and later plant a few trees to promote the importance of forests, in addition to beautifying this national asset and heritage property. It is encouraging that many of us are able to join others in Fiji today and around the world to raise awareness and celebrate the important role that forests play in making our countries greener, healthier, happier, and a better place to live and call home. Trees and forests have a profound impact on all of us, but we can sometimes take for granted how important our forests are in our daily lives. From the time we wake up to the time we sleep, all throughout the day and night, trees provide for us the water we drink, the towels we use, the packet which contains our cornflakes, the newspapers we read, the fresh air we breathe in as we travel to school and work, the fruits in our lunch pack, the pencils we use, the desks in classrooms, the house we come back to, the sound of birds, the bed we sleep in, and the clean air coming through our windows as we sleep. All these, ladies and gentlemen and children, are due to the trees, our silent providers. So today is aimed at reminding ourselves on why we need trees, whose responsibility is it to plant and nurture trees, and who all benefit from these trees. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations General Assembly in 2012 proclaimed the 21st of March each year as the International Day of Forests, in recognition of the great importance of trees and forests in our lives, as we've heard from the Conservative Forest. I had the privilege of addressing representatives of the international community when I was in Rome this time last year. I was invited by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization to address its first global symposium on soil and soil sciences. And whilst there, I was also invited to deliver keynote addresses on the 2017 International Day of Forests and the International Water Day. I said there that forests have played a critical role to the advancement of human civilization for all of recorded history, that around 1.6 billion people depend on forests in their day-to-day livelihoods, and that forests offer resources that are essential to humanity's survival and the survival of countries, other plant and animal species. In fact, forests are the most biologically diverse ecosystems on land. They cover around 1/3 the global land mass and contain about 80% of the total terrestrial biodiversity. While some of these facts are not well known, most are common knowledge, but far too often this knowledge is taken for granted. We cannot ever lose sight of the integral importance forests have for our planet. We need to impress at every opportunity how dire the consequences will be if our forestry resources continue to be degraded, as is happening far too often in far too many places around the world today. I also mentioned that forests have emerged as a key topic in the climate negotiations over the past 10 years. Article 5 of the Paris Agreement, for example, puts forests at the center of climate change discussions. It sends a strong message to the world on the important role that forests play in reducing greenhouse gas emissions under the United Nations Collaborative Program on Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Degradation in Developing Countries, or simply known as the Ret'd program. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the International Day of Forests is a platform to create awareness on the importance of forests for sustainable development and how forests relate to sustainable development goals. This year, the theme addresses the Sustainable Development Goal 11, Sustainable Cities, and we are all encouraged to participate in activities which promote this theme by planting trees in and around our cities and towns. The theme, Forests and sustainable cities, focuses on how forests and trees in urban areas regulate temperature and water flows, provide nutritious food and shelter, cleanse the air, and foster community cohesion and individual well-being, among other benefits. Forests and trees store carbon, which helps mitigate the impact of climate change in and around urban centers. Urban green spaces, including forests, encourage active and healthy lifestyles, improve mental health, prevent diseases, and provide a place for people to socialize. Trees reduce noise pollution as they shield homes from nearby roads and industrial areas. City parks and urban trees ensure our cities and towns are sustainable by making them greener, cleaner, and healthier places to live, go to school, and work in. Places where there is a connection to the natural world, a connection that has a serious impact on the well-being of a city's inhabitants. Of course, development often does come at the expense of our forests. As forests are cleared to make way for cities and towns and to build our homes, office buildings, schools, and hospitals. But it is critical that we strike an appropriate, sustainable balance. And that is what this year's theme is all about. Statistics provided by the FAO show that the Asia-Pacific region is home to over 4 billion people, roughly 60% of the world's population, and half of them live in cities. The population is expected to swell by another billion by 2040. Depletion of natural resources, limited availability of clean water, increased air pollution, and worsening impacts from climate change are critical issues facing the region's cities and towns due to rapid urbanization. Now, research, however, shows that trees that are planted in towns and cities can dramatically increase the quality of urban living and combat the emerging challenges facing urbanization. For example, urban forests and green spaces can increase cities and towns' resilience to severe weather events. Forests and trees in urban areas also increase soil stability and improve the availability of water, thus contributing to increase food security and, in some cases, indirectly adding to livelihoods. Here in Fiji, for example, fruit trees such as breadfruit and green coconuts planted alongside the roads are often used for subsistence purposes and sold to pedestrians and commuters. On a hot day, it's always nice to have a cool drink beside the road from a coconut or from a green coconut. Trees are a source of fuel, wood energy to a few communities in all our local towns and cities. Now, research also shows that trees improve the local climate, helping to save energy used for heating by about 20 to 50%, and that the strategic placement of trees in cities and towns can cool the air by up to 9 degrees Celsius. A 10% increase in urban green space also postpones onset of health problems by up to 5 years. Additionally, the prevalence of obesity among children living in areas with good access to green spaces is reduced by roughly 10 to 20%, compared to urban areas where children have limited or no access to green spaces. Trees trap airborne particulates and reduce carbon dioxide, the two high-risk factors associated with asthma and respiratory problems. Now, trees provide a home for wildlife, add aesthetic value to our environment, and character and beauty to our cities. The human brain has a connection to nature, and having trees line the streets provide an ambience, which encourages walkers, reducing their stress levels. For those of us who like to walk early in the morning, I can vouch for that. The bottom line is this: without these urban forests, parks, and trees, we have no chance of achieving sustainable growth and development. The Fijian government, through the Ministry of Forests, encourages and supports sustainable wood processing business ventures, and at the same time, Fiji's commitment is evident in our reforestation programs, which focuses on the replanting of protection trees like the ndakua, the vesi, the manu, and mangroves, as well as production trees like sandalwood, mahogany, and pine. Now, these efforts are boosting our carbon stocks and the resilience of our own towns, and cities through the provision of shade, cooler and cleaner air, and accessing reliable and clean water sources. For instance, the Savura Forest Reserve in Wailuku, which covers an area of only 189 hectares, not only is a habitat for wildlife, but the forest water source also supplies water to about 50,000 households here and around Suva. The Fiji National Ret'd Plus program is another initiative working to reduce emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, as well as promoting forest conservation, the sustainable management of forests, and carbon stock enhancement. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this year's International Day of Forests aims to raise awareness of the importance of all types of forests, urban forests, parks, botanical gardens, woodlands, and trees, and celebrate the ways in which they sustain and protect us. These sustainably managed trees and forests have a key role in meeting several sustainable development goals and providing solutions for a growing green economy. Now, this year's theme also aims at enabling transformative changes to enhance the well-being of everyone at all levels of society, including women and girls as well as men, to those who are both young and old, and all of those who live in and around cities and urban areas. Today we are here not only to celebrate forests and sustainable cities, but to also advocate forests and trees as essential for maintaining resilient ecosystems, production systems, communities, towns, cities, and islands, and most importantly, our lives. Our goal for today is to encourage all of us to look at our cities and towns differently. Think about this as we drive home through a nicely tree-lined street. How will those trees be maintained or replaced? If not by you, then who? If not now, when? Or if you see a street that lacks trees at all, think, what can be done about that? Ladies and gentlemen, I also encourage all of us to educate our children on the importance of forests to humanity as a whole. We need to educate our young ones that our forests are a source of economic empowerment, biodiversity, and cultural importance, today as in years to come. They are a resource we are blessed to have inherited, and that we will be proud to pass on to future generations. Let us also commit ourselves to finding new, innovative ways to increase the role of forests play in our cities and towns sustainable. I thank you all for your presence here today, and I thank the Ministry of Forests, through our Minister and your hard-working staff for partnering with the Ministry of Education and with the Fiji's municipalities and other organizations promoting the importance of trees and forests. May the trees we will all plant today add to sustaining our future generations. May Almighty God continue to bless our beloved nation, Fiji. Navalevu, Tanavad, Sukria, Sheshe Fayeksa, and thank you all.